Hello, friends, and welcome to Lessons from Our Animals and Soul podcast. I am Emma. I am an animal communicator and healer and teacher. And for today's kickoff episode, I really want to go back to the beginning of my story of when I really learned how I could communicate with animals, because that is where I learned one of the most potent lessons that I have learned to date that has completely changed my life and how I approach my life, and also how I approach animal communication and communicating with animals and what that looks like. So, before I started recording, I was starting to calculate how many sessions I have done since I started doing animal communication full time at the end of 2019. And to this point, we are in February of 2024. I am somewhere around 1,000. I don't keep track of every session, especially those that are donated or are done kind of one-off or for a friend or whatnot. And so I don't have, and I don't know that I'll ever have the final complete number, but it's somewhere around 1,000. And many of those are with healings. So healings and communication, and a lot of those are communication only. And I have communicated with animals in somewhere near 14 countries. And again, I don't know the exact number because the way that things are set up for the way that I communicate with animals, I don't always get to hear or learn or understand where the animal is located. And for the most part, it doesn't really matter for our communication. And though sometimes it's just fun to know. So so I learned that I could communicate with animals back in 2018, I believe. And it was something that really I uncovered through my own personal development, self-development, spiritual awakening path. And it was through that, and maybe in another episode, I'll go into what that looked like, because it makes so much sense to me now, knowing human design and whatnot, that it happened later on in life, and it happened while I was learning about myself and who I am and what that looks like. And when I had essentially signed up for this group that was to essentially learn kind of how to better connect with your animal, because I have a dog. His name is Ranger, and he has been my catalyst for everything. And he, ever since I had him, had been an extremely anxious and stressed out dog. And we had done the training, we had done all sorts of things, and he just continued to be a really stressed dog, going out to in public areas, meeting new people, tail talked, all the things. And if you're curious, I have done 2 DNA tests on him. He is a shelter special, and he has, I think, like 6 or 7 breeds in him. So what I consider a true shelter special. So that was stressing me out, him being so stressed out, because I wanted him to have the best life possible. And me seeing him anxious and stressed out all the time was really a cue to me of like, oh, his life isn't going to be as long as it could be because he's stressed out. Because he's so stressed out, his lifespan is going to be shortened. And that was really my catalyst to be like, okay, there's got to be something more. There's got to be something different. Really opening up the gates to the universe, and the universe started bringing me all sorts of people. And this journey with Ranger got really serious. I would say, like, I was like, we have to really understand, because this is really starting to affect my, like, it was affecting my life overall, but I couldn't allow it to go on any longer. And that probably started happening in 2016, 2017. And the universe started sending me these different people, these different podcasts, these different opportunities to learn more about different things. I would say 2017-ish is when I started to learn. 2017, 2018. Animal communicators were a thing. I didn't even realize that they were a thing. And anyway, we went down this path. So going back to, I joined this group, and one of the things we were learning kind of in this group was communicating, connecting in with your animal. And I really wanted to connect in with Ranger and ask him, what are you the most scared of? Like, what is the thing? Because at the time I was a very logical, rational person. And so you give me a thing to do, we can create a plan around that and we can tackle it. And so I had asked the other women in the group with me to also ask him this question. And then I took the time to connect in and asked him, what are you the most scared of? And I was expecting to hear him say loud noises, people, public places, chaos, things. Those were the things that really kind of set him off in our physical life. And so I was expecting one of those things to be the thing that he was the most scared of. What he actually said shifted everything for me. He said, I am scared that you are not going to learn what I'm here to teach you. I'm just going to repeat that. I'm scared that you are not going to learn what I'm here to teach you. And it was in that moment that I understood and learned and realized that our animals are here to teach us so much. And they're teaching us whether we realize they're teaching us whether we're accepting it from them or not. It's why so many times that we get into this loop or things don't work, because they are trying to give us a message. They are trying to teach us something. They're trying to get us on the path that we're meant to be on in this lifetime. So when I asked him, well, what are you here to teach me? Which by this point, I'm already crying because it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting something very logical. I did not get something very logical. And I just felt kind of like taken aback because this was not what I was expecting. And he said, I'm here to teach you to be more present, to love yourself more than others, and to trust yourself. And when he said to love yourself more than others, I said, oh my gosh, I love you so much. And he said, yeah, that's the problem. You love me more than you love yourself. And so it was through this that was a massive mind opening for me, that he's here and he's showing these behaviors and these tendencies for a very specific reason. And it was as I continued down my path, as I learned more about myself, as I stepped more into my path, as I stepped more into my authenticity and being present, trusting myself and loving myself, which, just as like a side note, I didn't even realize loving yourself was a choice at the time. It was just something that felt like, well, isn't that just like breathing, right? Like you just love yourself. And when I actually took the time to consciously look at it, I learned that that is not the case. It's not like breathing. There's a lot more nuance to it. And so that created another path for me to go down. And as I continue to step more and more into those, which I'm still continuing to step more and more into them, but as I shifted my life and became more present and began to trust myself and love myself, he became more confident. He became less anxious. He became just completely different than who he is or who he used to be, who used to shake in the presence of a new person. And now he's interested in a new person, not super friendly, right? Not like I want to go up to them and like wag my tail and, oh my gosh, like pet me and love on me. He wants to go up to them in a way that they don't see him, or he pretends that they can't see him, and get to know them and then come back and be like, okay, maybe you can pet me. No, you can't pet me. Da, 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 da. So I'm going to just leave it here of really just understanding and maybe looking at your animal a little bit differently. Do you know what they're here to teach you? Do they have a behavior or something that kind of like grates on your nerves in some capacity, whether it makes you anxious or frustrated or angry or whatever, right? It elicits some kind of larger response from you that maybe you've tried things with and it doesn't really help or hasn't really helped. Or you've gone to the vet and they're like, we don't know, it should be XYZ. So looking at, okay, is my animal, I mean, they are, but is my animal already speaking to me, giving me these lessons, trying to get my attention, and I'm just not seeing it for what it is? What is it that they're here to teach me? What is it that they're pushing me towards? What is it that they're wanting me to understand at a deeper level? And how can I start to step into that more? And how can I start to be more open to what they're here to teach me, to what they're trying to tell me, to the messages that are abundant, that they are trying to get across to us, that we just maybe sometimes need to take a second and become really quiet and invite them into that space to be able to hear what they have to say. So I hope this was a helpful just way to kind of start to look at things a little bit differently and maybe see your animal in a different light or in a different perspective, and or their behaviors and the way that they show up in the world, and how it's there to really help you and support you and guide you, even though it might really stress you out in the moment. It's really there for you. So thank you so much for being here. If this is something that you enjoy, please subscribe so that you can get the next episode when it comes through, and let me know what you would love to hear more about. And I can't wait to share more with you very, very soon. Bye, guys.